Yes, we are live. I think we are. I think we are. Yes,
Yay.
we are live. Hello, Coco. Thank you for joining us. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Warriors of Light. We are here today on a Friday, and we are here with Tumelo Moreri, and we are about to go on all things inner seasons of a woman's body. I love this conversation. It's like so shifting, especially with the rise of the divine feminine, the Holy Mother, Cosmic Mother. So this is going to be beautiful. Welcome to me. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's such a joy. Yeah, your name. It's such you and an honor to be here today with you and with
Uh,
everyone who's going to be joining us. And 𝐂𝐿𝐿 is here. So good, like you would say.
Amazing. I am so excited to have you here. We've been in conversations so many times, but each time I get so excited because you just bring this beautiful energy to the space, and I'm just like, yeah, let's do this again and again and again. So thank you for saying yes to this invitation.
It's an absolute honor. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah. Okay. So today we are continuing on the stream of the sacral energies, our chakra energies, what's happening to us and our bodies, and how we can move into greater wisdom and understanding of our bodies as a reclamation, as a healing, and expansion, as well as return to ancient wisdom, the things that our ancestors knew that we have forgotten. So I am really excited for this conversation because it's in alignment with all the conversations that we've been having, which is all about the return to our divine self through the natural ways of healing. So yeah, this is going to be so good. And I can't wait.
Me
So,
neither.
so we will do this the usual way of having a conversation, and later, the last 15 minutes or so, we will open for questions and answers, and any comments, any realizations that you are having, any expansion on what's going to be shared here today, it's totally welcome. We are all here as students and we're all here as teachers, and it's a collaboration with you as the audience, with Sumi, who is our lead guest, our lead speaker today. So, yes, we come here with that in our heart, right? Yeah. Okay. So I thought we will begin once again by setting sacred space and closing our eyes wherever we are. And this time, because we are coming into the body, becoming a little bit more physical by placing your right hand in your heart and the other one in the womb. If you're a woman, but if you're a man, the stomach is fine as well. Your solar plexus is fine. All right. And we begin this sacred space by connecting with our higher heart center in our heart, which is our doorway to the higher realms, to heaven, to connect with those who walk with us and our creator. And we take a deep breath and we breathe. And we breathe by realizing that the breath is life. that we are alive through the breath, that this is life force, and allow ourselves to sink into the breath. And the more we sink into the breath, we are sinking into the higher heart. And we take a deep breath from the heart and we send that breath down into the womb. And from the womb, we send through our root chakra point by the spine, the base of the spine. Then we send it down to the earth. And we send it, imagining as if it's a root that is an extension that's connecting us to our Holy Mother, our earth. And that root goes down into the soil and it passes through your earth star, the star that connects you to the earth, that grounds you. And the root goes down even more further through the earth gateway into the womb of our earth, the galactic core of our earth. And we release all that we are holding today, all the emotions from the day. We let them go into the earth so they may be transmuted with unconditional love. And from the earth, we open up to receive the Sophia Christus flame from our earth, the diamond flame, diamond light that comes back to transmute all that we hold in our bodies. And this diamond flame, Sophia Christus flame, moves into our feet. And here you are free to let go of all that you need to let go, all the pain, all the suffering. Allow the diamond flame to transmute you and see that transmutation arriving in the heart and exploding further as it meets the love that lives within you. And see that love being sent up through your crown, through the stellar gateway, through your soul star, all the way to the great central sun, to the heavens, to the luminous realm, the seat of our ancestors, through the seat of our prime creator God. And just allow yourself to feel connected and to know that you are one with that love, with God creation. And from there, we receive in this sacred space the holy light, the Holy Spirit, and we invoke it, invite it into the space, and we move forward with this grace anchoring us, all of us, wherever we are. And we take a deep breath from the womb to the heart again. Then we open our eyes, coming back. Yes, welcome back. Welcome back, everyone.
That was so good.
Yeah. I feel much lighter as well. And I really wanted us to feel connected today, because this is a conversation of connection, connecting to the great wisdom of the body. And today we're focusing on the woman's body, but of course, if you are male, you will benefit greatly with this conversation. So please stay with us, support us. Also, just so you can have greater understanding of how women work. Right?
Yeah.
So may we begin with just paying reverence to the woman's body and the wisdom that's there that you have discovered, that you know are drawn to, that you are interested in, just generally.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Sure, it's such a joy. Yeah, I'm saying this again, such a joy and an honor and such, yeah, divine pleasure to be here with you today on a Friday afternoon. As introduced, I'm Tumelo Moreri, and my work and my calling as a medicine woman is on sacral body wisdom. And so I do a lot of work around the womb and around the energies of and around the womb. And I'm so excited to engage in this conversation with you about the inner seasons of a woman's body, because this is like sacred knowledge and sacred wisdom that has been hidden from us for so many generations. And I'm so excited that a lot of us are now awakening to this knowledge and, yeah, incorporating into our lives to reunite us with our divine power and our divine feminine energy. So, yeah, like I've taught a lot. I've done a body of work on sex, sexuality, and pleasure, and now diving more deeply into intimacy and pleasure. So, in this conversation, as Joy has said, is just really essentially around intimacy with your body, intimacy with your womb, intimacy with your woman self. Yeah.
Yeah, so juicy. This is what you
Mm.
like saying. So juicy, so orgasmic,
And delicious.
right? And this
Mhm.
conversation is so important and so potent because words like orgasmic, delicious, juicy are things that we don't really experience as much as we desire, right? And part of that is because there is a disconnection with the womb for a lot of women. And this is, of course, because of many, many experiences we go through, but also just because we're not really, you know, helped to cultivate an intimacy with the womb, an understanding of the womb, right? We're basically young girls and we experience, our first menstrual cycle. And if you're lucky, you might receive a ceremony, or you might receive an adult sharing with you about what's happening about this, you know, new journey, initiation to womanhood. But for most people of this generation, you basically depend on the conversations from school, from other girls who went through what you went through, and you basically figure it out by yourself, right? But there is actually a greater design in our womb that is happening. And this greater design is what you call the inner seasons, right? So may we share and expand what these inner seasons are so that we can understand what we have been going through as well as, move forward with this
Mm. So delicious, hey? I'm so excited to share because, like, as you
knowledge.
were saying, like, indeed, a lot of girls like don't get to learn fully and in a very holistic manner what this part of the womanhood means, and also the powers of this experience, because it's such a powerful experience, and we'll dive more into that further, right? But like, just as a point of departure, a woman's body, your woman's body, has inner seasons not unlike those of a year. So they're very similar to those of a year, like our summer, autumn, winter, spring, right? And I'm also going to be introducing new terms, which you may or may not be familiar with. So we'll use, for purposes of this conversation and for this education as well, we'll use terms inner winter, inner autumn, inner spring, inner summer, right? And what a lot of us know about, what we were taught in school, is the inner winter, which is your menstrual period, right? And so we would have been told about this period where there's blood flow. And we would have also been told about, like in school, we would have also been taught about the part where the egg leaves the ovaries, for example, and flows through the fallopian tube. But like that's essentially what we got. Just about this one period, which is actually part of a much big cycle. And we call it the menstrual cycle because it's a whole complete journey from one menstrual period to another, right? And so we also want to draw a distinction between period and cycle, because the period is like about 3 to 7 days long sometimes, depending on your own body as a woman. And that menstrual period, it's like a quarter of a full cycle, right? So inner winter is your menstrual period. And you also have an inner autumn. And inner autumn is the season just before your menstrual period, which has received a lot of bad rap in our society. Like this is where a lot of women experience premenstruum like symptoms and what we call PMS, right? That actually comes from a lack of understanding of what this period is, like this inner autumn and the powers of this period, right? And you also have inner spring, which is the season or the period just after your menstrual period, and where you are likely feeling playful and energetic and with new life, right? And then the last one would be inner summer, which comes after inner spring, and where ovulation takes place. So in school, we would have also learned about inner summer, but like obviously like not in this language, you'd have just been told about where ovulation takes place. And the conversation that we're going to be bringing to this discussion is about what's happening with your body, what you might be feeling, and also the spiritual significance of it, because we are spiritual beings, and like none of this is like an accidental coincidence. It's part of a beautiful design. Like you having a menstrual cycle, it's part of a beautiful design, and there's a much bigger spiritual significance to it that we want to tap into, like to build beautiful and orgasmic lives. So like that would just be like an overview, and then we'll dive deeper into it.
Yeah. I remember the first time I learned about the inner seasons. It was so liberating for me because there is a lot of secrecy and shaming when it comes to women's experiences, women's bodies, and we then hold this energy. And I do a lot of work around the sacral, and one of the great energies that we hold in this area, which is the same area as the womb, is shame, right? And it's so painful and so crystallized that it takes a long time to release, And for most people, we can trace back this shame all the way, like from our childhood, even sometimes at the moment of birth or before the moment of birth. But by the time we're 13, that shame is already crystallized, and there's just so much fear around our experiences. And for me, I remember that particularly after or before my period, I will have this drop of energy. I don't know which is which, but you will explain, because I always tell you I don't remember, but I remember feeling, there are moments where I'm like super inspired and I want to do things, and then out of the blue, my energy drops. I don't want to do anything. I'm not as motivated as before. And it used to really make me feel guilty, like I am lazy. Why am I not feeling inspired? Because a couple of other days I was just doing that, right? I learned about this cycle, and it really helped me to understand what was actually going on with me, which allowed me to step into self care now, into aligning with the seasons rather than fighting the seasons and fighting the flow that are happening in my womb, right? So may we actually break down these four seasons and understand them a little bit better?
Gosh, like I've been like deeply moved by your own experience with this sacred knowledge and sacred wisdom. I love it because like it's also like really radically changed my life. Um, just like me being able to be kinder with myself and building like a monthly routine, that works for my body. Um, so like diving deeper into it. So we have already recognized that there are four seasons, right? It's in a winter, in a spring, in a summer, in a autumn, in that order, right? And so these these four seasons, like they form a cycle, yeah. And autumn and inner winter, they form what we could call like the yin of the yin and yang of your cycle, right? Like the feminine side, um, like the darker side of the yin and yang, right? And um, in a summer and in a spring, they form the yang of your cycle, right? Like the more masculine, the more light vibes, high vibes. It's the high energy part of your cycle. Whereas in a autumn and in a winter are the low energy part of your cycle. So let's start with inner autumn, which is the season just before you get your menstrual period, in which a lot of women are familiar with, right? And that is characteristic of that drop in energy, right? Which a lot of women would have experienced, right? This is also where we might start to feel grumpy and very irritable, and yeah, just being very emotional. And that is actually very, very normal, right? And we'll also dive deeper into why you might be feeling grumpy, why you might be feeling emotional, why you might be feeling irritable, right? So this is the feminine side of your cycle, which asks you to move slower, to move more with flow, and to come to a place of rest. So inner autumn and inner winter are your natural place and your natural seasons for rest and for recuperation and for renewal. And your body knows this, like deep in your bones and your blood, that when inner autumn comes and inner winter comes, we're supposed to move slower and come to a place of rest, right? So, given the conditioning within our society, which is patriarchal and capitalistic, right? We are working 24/7 like machines that are apparently not supposed to get tired, right? And ending deadlines, so many commitments, working from Monday to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're also engaged. So there's hardly ever that moment to actually rest and to come into yourself, right? So you find that by the time you reach inner autumn, your body is saying, baby, we need to move slow. But your entire socialization and conditioning is saying, no, let's keep going, let's move fast, right? So then there's that clash between the guidance of your body, the inner knowing of your body, and what you're willing to say no to. And so part of that grumpiness, part of that irritability is like this disconnect, this clash. Like your body is saying, I need this, and you are saying, no, 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 I have a meeting to attend to. And when we tune into our bodies, you can literally feel it, right? That my body is actually wanting to move slower to lie down, to be nurtured. But because there hasn't been this education, right? A lot of us don't know that it's actually a natural, like the beautiful thing about your woman body, baby, is that it will let you know when you need to rest. Like you don't even have to like go figure it out. Like your body tells you when it's rest time and when it's time to go slow. But because there isn't this education, like then we just want to go fast, 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 right? Without any rest. So that's one. And so like that is the point where like inner autumn begins at the point where like you feel your energy drop, right? And if we were to track your cycle, right? So day one of your cycle is the first day when you get your menstrual period. That's how we count it. So day one is the first day when you get your menstrual period, and the length of your cycle, right, is from day one of this menstrual period to like the day before your next period, right? And the length varies according to your body as a woman. So my cycle right now is 25 days long. Sometimes it can be 28 for other women. It can be like 23, right? And also the length of the menstrual period also varies from woman to woman, depending on a number of factors, right? And so when you reach in autumn, the invitation there is to move slower, because you're also coming into a place of inner wisdom with your body, a place of rebirth and renewal and a death of the ego, actually. Because inner autumn is also the natural home for your inner critic, right? Inner autumn and inner winter are the space where you meet your shadow and where you are invited to come face to face with your life, to come face to face with how you've been taking care of yourself, to come face to face with whether you're living in purpose. So the menstrual cycle also serves as an internal feedback mechanism about your overall health, spiritual, emotional, physical. Like when you reach inner autumn, your body will tell you, girl, this is what you've been up to, right? And so when I was younger and when I was still living not out of purpose, not in alignment with my sacred mission, yeah, inner autumn used to be really, really rough, because the inner critic would be there, you know, showing me the many ways in which I was out of alignment and not in purpose. Yeah. And so what I also want to explore with you is like the sacred tasks and the invitation for each season, like what you're invited to do, like to just drop into this power and harness this power of your menstrual cycle, right? And but before that, so the other reason why we're feeling grumpy and irritable is that there's what we will call like lunar information, like lunar whispers. It's the whispers of your cycle, the whispers of your body, right? So our body is constantly whispering information, guidance to us, right? But and this is tying it with like the 24/7 hyperactivity, hyperproductivity nature of our society. We're usually in we're hardly generally in our society, many women are hardly in a place of stillness where they can hear these whispers, like this information that comes from deep in your bones and from deep in your blood, right? And we also push it down with like we it's like a refusal to hear this voice that flows from within. And part of what also pushes down the voice is what we eat, you know. It could be caffeine, it could be alcohol, it could be like the chemicals in our food that almost numbs our spiritual sensing, right? Now, your body is aware of all of these things, such that by the time you reach inner autumn, if you have not been listening, able to hear this voice, like this spiritual voice, this wise woman within, your body will tell you. And like, yeah, if you're well tuned to it, you'll literally feel it in your body that um there's a voice that wants to speak to me, but it's not flowing through, you know, which I sometimes feel, right? And that can lead to that irritability, to that grumpiness, like a deep knowing that something is off, but not necessarily knowing what might be off. Yeah. I hope it's landing well.
Yeah,
um, yeah.
it is. It's blending so well, and I am like having even a greater understanding of my cycle of what was happening.
Mm,
I am in inner spring. Is that what happens after inner winter right now?
yes.
What
Yes.
happens? Yes, yeah. So I am in inner spring from just what you're saying, and now I'm like remembering when I was in that space, and it's like very, very resonant, because that's when the self doubts are happening. The I can't do this. I
Mm,
remember feeling that, like, oh, I'm
mm,
so exhausted. I just want to lie down, and yeah, there was that
mm,
information, and like for me, this information, the first time I had it, it really gave me that push to really prioritize listening to the body, because I
mm,
love the part you just mentioned of the connection to that spiritual voice. We are in the midst of a great awakening as a civilization. We are going through an ascension process, and the ascension process is not separate from our body, the physical body, and what's happening with the
mm,
physical body. And part of experiencing what we usually call the ascension symptoms, which appears as exhaustion, all the things you're mentioning, it is because we
mm,
are going against our intuition, So, and we are also not really grounded and listening to the body
mm,
and to the spirit. So there's always that clash, So sometimes we hear, oh no, you're going through ascension symptoms. That's why you're exhausted. But it's like, do you understand that's information though? That there is
mm.
something that's bubbling up that you are not listening to, right? Or that you are not
Wow.
transmitting and so on. So it's the
Wow.
same thing, right? That is
Oh.
not that you're irritable, it's that there is information coming through
Mm,
that you are refusing to receive, you're fighting for
oh.
whatever reason. So I love this because it's
Mm,
also a reflection of the greater body of what is happening with
mm,
Gaia Sophia and how we are
mm.
experiencing that as humans right now.
Wow. Joy. Yeah, this is the part where I say joy. Because the menstrual cycle is a deep initiatory process. Like sometimes I want to cry when I think about how we have not had this information. Um, oh my God. Yeah, because like it's the menstrual cycle, it's deeply transformative. It's an opportunity for rebirth. For a woman, it's an opportunity for rebirth month in and month out. So, like in our world, when we talk about innovation, I'm like, the menstrual cycle is here to facilitate that innovation. Because once you've gone through once you have surrendered and gone through your inner autumn and your inner winter, there's no way in which you can emerge the same. On the other hand, there's no way in which you can still create the same and do your life and your business the same, right? Yeah, and we'll explore that a bit more when we get into inner winter. Before we get into inner winter, I just want to share like the sacred tasks and the invitation for inner autumn, like what we can do to support ourselves as we drop into this like very delicious and juicy experience, right? So you might feel it, that when you step into inner autumn, it's like you become more permeable, like you're more sensing and more intuitive. I used to feel very naked, like when I was in inner autumn and I would go out into the street, I would feel so, I would feel so penetrated by all the energies out there more than I normally do, right? And this is because indeed you become more permeable and more connected to the spiritual realm and ready to receive the inner guidance, the spiritual guidance, to hear the spiritual voice. And so one of the tasks is to move slower. You just begin to move slower in through your days, right? And one way of doing this is to just listen to the pace at which your body wants to move. Your body will literally guide you. So what we normally do when the body like shows us that, no, I want to move slower, we are like, girl, no, step into the meeting, do the thing, do that, do that. Your body will literally show you the pace at which it wants to move, and you want to surrender to that pace. And the need to move slower is because you're beginning to drop into inner sacred wisdom. You're beginning to drop into a death and rebirth process, right? That's like a very sacred process that requires flow and slow motion, slower motion, right? And you also want to create space for yourself. You want to give yourself more space, right? You want to just feel. And this is what giving yourself more space looks like, for example, right? So if you're an entrepreneur, for example, or say you have more control over your time. If if for example in like your high energy days, maybe you start your day at 9 a.m. When you get into inner winter, maybe start your day at 11 a.m., right? Like give yourself time to just feel and to just flow and like, yeah, just to just flow and to move about energetically and otherwise in your life. Like allow yourself more ritual time, allow yourself more reflective time, allow yourself more journaling time, and just free time just to be, right? Just to be, just to feel, and just to be able to drop the busyness. So the invitation is to drop your busyness. And one way of doing that is to create more space for yourself in your day, right? And one critical thing also, one of the sacred tasks, because inner autumn is the home of the inner critic. And like, here's the beautiful thing about the inner critic, right? The inner critic is here to show you the places in your life where you're out of alignment, or the places that you need to revisit and work on a little more, right? So when the inner critic is saying, oh my God, I really suck. Oh my God, I want to quit this business. Like, go deeper. Ask her why. Why do you want to quit this business? Right? Why do you feel like you are making a mess of everything? Tell me more. Right? And also, this is not the time to act on it. No, just listen to your inner critic. So, what I usually invite women to do is to keep a moon journal, right? And so, when you're in your inner autumn, you just write down everything that the inner critic is saying, right? If she's saying, oh my God, I want to quit this business, you write, right now, I feel like quitting my business. And if you're able to drop into why, go deeper, why, to see what the inner critic might be trying to communicate to you, right? There might be a misalignment somewhere, and she's probably really feeling, because of this misalignment. So we want to drop into it, right? And yeah, so it's your moon or your mood journal, right? And so I was saying that because this is like the home of your inner critic. Just as you enter into inner autumn, we want to have like a Thanksgiving ceremony, right? It doesn't have to be anything hectic. So you just pull out your journal and you write down all the things that you're celebrating from your previous cycle. right? You want to write down all the things that you invested your summer and spring energy on. If you launched a program, right? I'm so happy I launched a program, so happy I launched my website. Take note of the things that you invested your high energy vibes into, right? And then from there, as you even drop deeper into the space that you're creating for yourself, as you're listening to your inner critic, right? That's where the moon journal comes in. Like you write down all your reflections, right? So inner autumn is like the natural place for reflection. You drop into a deep reflective state, right? And we want to leverage on this to see what might be missing in your life, to see what you might be yearning for, to see what's breaking your heart, the things that you might later now in summer and spring work on, right? I want to highlight that this is not the time for let's act on it now. No, we just want to listen. In inner autumn, you just want to listen and hear what the yearnings of your inner self are, right? Um, and yeah, what also excites me about inner autumn, like I've shared, like is the place where we literally come to die to ourselves and are reborn. Like, yeah, it's the death of the ego. And it's so beautiful. And but it doesn't have to be painful, right? Like as you build a deeper relationship with your cycle and with your inner critic, you get to realize, or you get to come to a place of it not having to be such a painful process, right? um yeah, so that's it with the sacred task. And yeah, maybe you have some reflections, Joy, and then we'll dive into inner winter.
Oh, I love all the things with autumn. It's yeah, so good, right? So good. Because we have three other seasons to go through, and we are already 42 minutes in. Let's
Wow.
dive into the inner winter. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I usually find that like there's more information for inner autumn and inner winter, primarily because there's been so little information, right?
Mm.
And yeah, as a society we usually shun like the feminine, the darker, the season of the shadow, right? And so yeah, inner autumn, which is also sometimes called the crone or the wise woman, is your menstruation period, right? And when you reach this period, you want to move even slower, right? Drop the busyness so that you may drop into the wise woman, right? Because she's about to reveal to you the steps that you need to take now as you step into your new cycle, right? So inner autumn will present to you what's missing. And when you allow yourself to drop into inner winter, then you get the visioning and the clarity and the direction of what you need to do next, right? But obviously this happens fully, when you're able to drop, when you allow yourself to surrender and to just drop into it. So menstruation has 5 chambers. The first one is separation, and this is by two of my favorite teachers who have founded Red School, Sjanie and Alex. So this is that sacred teaching of the 5 chambers of menstruation. And they talk about the first chamber being separation, where you're feeling like you need to withdraw from everyone and from all of society, where you want to lie in bed and just nurture yourself, right? And once you have separated, right, like you literally feel it, like the need to separate, then there's the chamber of surrender. And that is then, like, once you have surrendered into the void, then it's like a smaller and a dip, right? And when you allow yourself to surrender, then it could be like over like a 4 hour period even, where you drop and then you emerge in a state of renewal, right? Where you come face to face with the great mother, with the love of the great mother, and you fall into the embrace of the great mother. And that is then followed by a visioning and you getting clear direction and clarity for the steps that you then need to take with your life, right? And this is where the concept and the practice of menstrual heart in some ancient communities, this is where it comes from, right? Which is an opportunity for women to separate and to go listen, to sit in solitude and to listen to the spiritual voice that is coming from their cycles, right? And so the sacred test and the invitation for inner winter, we want to recognize that this is a natural time for rest and for renewal. It's a time to rest and to just flow. It's a time to just be. So if you do have the opportunity, this is where you schedule some like it's not even a vacation. This is where you just schedule some time off away from work or away from your business, right? It could be 2 days or 3 days, right? This is the time where you need to take time out of your normal schedule, right? And the other invitation here is for us to re-village, right? So that if you have kids, for example, you can have somebody look after your kids in like where you can ask for support to look after the kids, to look after the home, right? And the invitation for us business owners and entrepreneurs is then to build cycle conscious businesses, right? Where we allow the women in our teams to take a bit of time off and to go lie down and to hear this voice, this spirit voice, And Joy, earlier you spoke about the shame around menstruation and how it's a thing of taboo. So that shame and it being a taboo, it's actually just a distraction, is a tactic to distract women from the immense power that sits within their bodies. So the invitation to you as a woman is to wake up to this knowledge. Like it's a power that sits in you by virtue of you being a woman. You don't even have to go get it somewhere. Like it's just it sits naturally in your body. And what we need to do is just to wake up to this sacred knowledge and sacred wisdom. Yeah. And yeah, that's about it with inner winter. And inner spring, inner summer. Mm-hmm. That just the high energy season. You want to share reflection?
Yes. Before we go
Okay.
to the other seasons, I
Yes.
love inner winter. I love everything that you shared with inner winter. So what was coming to me, because I work with codes in my work, the womb holds the sacred creation codes, the original codes of how we're meant to create, right? And so I'm realizing that during inner winter, you receive the blueprint, because in inner autumn, you were basically asking, what are we building, right? So inner winter, you are receiving the blueprint of what to build and also the code to utilize to build that. And I'm like, for me in my business, once I started to be attuned to the wisdom of my spirit and my body, I usually wait for this period for me to have clarity on what I'm actually creating in my business. And I really always find that during this period, I'm channeling deeper transmissions. I'm just so connected to the Great Mother, to the Holy Mother Ark, as you were just saying. And I can find myself just suddenly something that has not been landing, then now it's landed. I have the vision. I see it, because also I have come and allowed myself to rest and to properly receive, right? So I've also gotten to a point where I've been able to create my life in a way that it allows me during this time to reduce the work I'm doing, because I do find that there is very active dream activities during this period where you are dreaming a lot. You are connecting with the ancestors a lot, particularly the divine feminine ones that are coming in. and I find that the divine masculine comes in to support, and they're like, yeah, you can build this, whatever it is that is coming up as the creation blueprint or the creation code, right? So it's so powerful that we have this technology inside us. And you are right to say that now we were made to fear it, to not want to engage with it at all, right? To separate. I remember in my younger years, that's what I wanted to do. But I'm like, can this pass already? Now I'm like, oh no, great. This is where I can now go deeper into connecting, into getting clarity, and usually this time I find myself usually waking up randomly at 3 a.m. and something has dropped in, and I'll be like, oh my God, I'm stopping this day. It's painful for me. Like, it just, you channel so easily in the inner winter. And when we think about this from nature herself, and we think about what we usually do in the natural winter itself, in where we want to just be loved and hugged throughout winter. This is why we have this thing of winter babies. Babies are created in time. So there's just that I just want to go with it and be like hibernate. And in that hibernation, we will create great civilizations from great, like being in the inner winter instead of running from the inner winter. So I just love inner winter also. I just wanted to reiterate how powerful it is and how from a creation perspective we can see it. Yeah.
Wow, Joy. Like, it's just so beautiful, like to see how it's coming together, like to have you sharing what you're sharing, and just for me to see it coming together. It's absolutely powerful. So a brief experience from my side. I've just emerged from an inner winter, and before my inner autumn, there was this feeling that something is so off, right? And so I allowed myself to like literally drop my entire busyness at inner autumn and just rest. And it started coming. Like, I started getting the downloads of what was off, right? And I would write like 3 pages on my journal about what was off. And then come inner winter, I was now writing pages and pages about what needed to happen with very clear steps, like crystal clear steps that I know I wouldn't have gotten otherwise, had I not allowed myself to just lay on the bed. Like, all I did literally, I was doing client sessions. And when I was not in client sessions, I was laying on my bed next to my journal. And a download would come and I would scribble it down. And it's so it's so beautiful. Got so much clarity about my work, about where I want to go next, in the next cycle period, the next cycle. So it's such a powerful experience. Yeah.
So just before we go into the next one, just a question coming in. You mentioned the chambers of the menstrual cycle: separation, surrender, visioning, and what are the other two?
So the first one is separation. Which is like usually like just moments before you get your bleed, right? Could be 3 hours before or a day before. And then the next one is surrender, where you're just being invited to surrender. And if you do allow yourself to surrender, to just drop into the void, no matter how scary it might seem, because the inner critic might still be like singing quite loudly. When you do allow yourself to surrender and to drop into the void, you're then able to tap into, like, to step into a state of renewal. That's like the death, like that's the point of the death of the ego, where you die and are then reborn, right? And then once you are in the state of renewal, then comes the chamber of visioning, which is then followed by, like you'd get like the visions of, oh, like this is how I'd like it to look like, and then that is followed by clarity and direction, where you get like the exact steps, like that says, go reconfigure your social media strategy, go update your profile, your bio, go design a 3-day challenge on this, go launch your program on this, price it at this much, like it's very precise and very exact. Yeah, like we don't even have to struggle, hey. It just flows, like
Oh
you
my
don't have
God.
to scratch your head and go like, what am I supposed to do with my business? It just drops, and
I just had a huge realization. It's not huge, but every month I change my bio when I'm in inner winter. I literally changed my bio in the inner winter I was in, because I'm like, I feel like this is not in alignment with my work. And I usually do this at night at 3 a.m. where I'm like, I know what is the new work.
Yes.
That makes total sense. The clarity and direction. I definitely thought that with the winter week, which just ended. That is so good.
I updated my bio a week ago. I was lying in bed and I was like, no,
You
it's not
too.
just like sexuality and pleasure. It's sacral body wisdom. And this is what's inside it. It's so powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. Oh my God. Like I always speak about like us moving away, especially as light workers, as people in the spiritual path. When you're in this path, you're going to be asked to release the mental body, the ego as the driver of your work. Because the path of the spirit is the path of the mystery, is the path of the unknown. And it's where you're meant to go deeper, sink deeper, and allow your spirit to descend more deeply into the body, into the blood, and let that be the guiding system, right? So in us learning these seasons, we can then stop trying to always come with strategies from the mind and wait for this season to come and receive the clarity we need, especially if we do slow down and we come into stillness and we don't fight it, then we will receive the blueprints and the codes. So this is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's jump into the other seasons.
Okay. I just want to fully credit my teachers who designed like those 5 chambers. I learned this from them, right? It's Alexandra Poe and Sjanie Wurlitzer. So they run a school called Red School. And yeah, have been doing this work for many years, and it's so orgasmic. So like the other challenge there before we step into like inner spring, what I've struggled with is this, like there's usually a struggle of, oh my God, but I can't slow down. Like there's usually this resistance to slow down, like a fear that, oh, my business is gonna crumble, or I won't attract the clients. Oh my God, my life is gonna fall apart if I slow down. What if I'm not able to restart my engine? What if I stay down forever? One, your body is such a powerful resource. It's such a powerful technology. Trust that you won't stay down forever. Actually, when you do rest, you're able to emerge with greater energy than you would have had you not rested, right? And your business will not fall apart. It's just about, and it's not like you're doing nothing all these whatever 10 days, right? You're going with the speed, with the pace of your body, and doing what needs to get done. And when you do come back, oh my word, you do the most amazing things, launching the things and writing the things. In a spring, right? Which is in some literature, it's called the maiden, called the goddess. It's pre-ovulation, right? And just as we experience the outside world after winter, it's characterized by rebirth, by renewal, by new life, by high energy, a surge of life. Your body will literally feel like this. Like you have this a surging energy and surging life. you're curious, the maiden is innocent, it's imaginative, full of possibilities, playful, bright, and full of desire as well, whether sexual or otherwise, right? And then you experience that your energy levels begin to rise, right? And the sacred task and the invitation for inner spring is to set an intention. You are just coming out of inner winter, right? And you have received like the tests for your next cycle, or like the strategy, so to speak, of the next cycle. So the invitation, the sacred task, is for you to set an intention of where you are going to invest your high energy vibes of inner spring and inner summer, right? So we don't want for the high energy vibes to find us without a plan, because otherwise we'll find ourselves with so much energy and not knowing exactly where we want to channel it. So when there isn't that intention, it can be quite haphazard, like, oh my God, let me update my website. Oh my God, let me talk to the people. Oh my God, you know? So you want to set a very clear intention that I'm going to reconfigure my social media strategy. I'm going to go develop that program I've been saying I want to develop. I'm going to launch. I'm going to do a 3-day challenge, right? Very clear intention. And the invitation is also to not fuss about the how. So Joe, you were just speaking about how we like to strategize from the brain, right? Let's not fuss about the how. You can invite inner guidance to support you in your manifestation, right? So the question to reflect on is, what idea would I like to work on? What idea would I like to birth? What idea would I like to manifest this cycle period, right? And that will be the intention setting of where you're going to invest your high energy vibes for inner spring and inner summer, right? So inner spring and inner summer, they are like the masculine side of the cycle. They are the side of the cycle where we wanna step into action, where we want to be visible, where we want to share our mission with the world. Yeah. May I conclude it with inner summer joy?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Mm. And then inner summer, just like summer on earth, it's very lush and it's very ripe and it's so juicy. And this is where most women ovulate as well, right? So it's the season of generosity where you are okay to give to other people and to also receive, right? This is the season where you want to be visible. As in contrast to inner autumn and inner winter, where you just want to hibernate and be inside and like just be in your woman cave. Inner summer is when you want to come out and be visible and do the live streams and do the podcast and write and do all of these things, right? And it's also the season where you are most magnetic and attractive. So it's the state of magnetism and attraction. And when you're here, you want to ask for the things you want, ask the people for the things that you want, and just leverage on that magnetism, the likelihood to get a yes, the likelihood to receive a response on the affirmative. And this is also the season of pleasure, right? So this one of the sacred tasks is to indulge in pleasure, like indulge in the activities that bring you pleasure. You're probably feeling like deep sexual energies at this point around ovulation, right? So yeah, like just go in there and enjoy, right? The other sacred tasks and the invitation, because this is a high energy season. This is when the body is able to be out there to take action. One of the sacred tasks is action, right? To act on your intention. So you want to take the brakes off and just go for it, right? And when you enter inner summer as well, you want to almost like recommit to the intention that you set at the beginning of inner spring, right? Just to anchor yourself and to ground yourself in this immense energy, in like, yeah, just to like ground yourself in this big bubble and bursting of energy, so that you invest this energy in areas that will actually move your life forward and move your life into alignment, into the ways that are most desired by your heart and by your soul. So yeah, so
Ooh, I love inner summer. I love inner summer. It's my high vibe because being, such an action-oriented person who feels very comfortable with the masculine processes of doing. I love the last part of the cycle, but also, the feminine ones are also really, really powerful. And this, like learning this for me, helped me to truly appreciate the cycle and to truly release any judgment on myself about what I'm going through, because I have seen myself when I'm going through, inner autumn and inner spring, just not wanting to do things. If I had intentions before and I was not in alignment with my cycle, in this period, I just don't want to do things. I cancel, I change the day, but during this time, because now I've known this wisdom for like a year now, I've been working with it, and it's been really, really supportive in um, creating my life, my spirit work that I do, as well as all the other plans that I have in my different aspects of my life, right? And I love inner summer because of the potency of that magnetism, right? The thing is, there is a rise of the divine feminine right now, and that rise is for us as women to return to our original blueprint of us being the creator, and the creators who create not from doing but being, from embodiment of the wise woman, the innocent, the pure aspect of the divine feminine, right? And learning to receive, rather than fighting and going out of flow with your natural code, with the natural cycle, right? And how then life becomes easy when you stop trying to manipulate, control nature, what's happening naturally to you in this moment, right? So in understanding these seasons, we we can stop fighting, right? We can be the warriors of truth and of nature, rather than warriors who just go to war without necessarily understanding what we're fighting. So I love this so much. And I want to open this time for any questions and answers from everyone who's joining us. Just to share, to me, there is a lot of revelation for the women who are joining us on Facebook. This has been really transformative for so many people. So particularly people realizing the way that we create from the mental, and how when we are going through inner autumn and inner winter, the inner critic is so active, and there's a lot of guilt where you actually want to rest, but you feel guilty for canceling your plans, for just not wanting to show up in your business in the same way, right? So in thinking about aligning with our natural cycle and creating lives that are in alignment with our natural cycle, how do we navigate this inner critic, this inner shame? Like, how can it be implemented, right? Yeah. So not everyone has the space of an entrepreneur, right? So for someone who is working and they don't have the liberty to be journaling, but what else could they do to navigate the shame and the guilt that rises up for us during the cycles? Yeah. And everyone, feel free to ask your questions and any comments that you might have, any aha moments, revelations you've received. Yes.
I hope this will answer it, right? So yeah, so like the example that I used earlier, where that of an entrepreneur and say somebody who has more control over that time, right? So for somebody who might be like in a job, like in an 8 to 5, 9 to 5. So like this creation of space, I just want to touch on creating space a bit more and how that might look like for somebody who's in a job, right? So the creation of space would be possibly in the evening after work, right? So whereas maybe in a summer or in a spring, you'd want to go out for drinks with the girls. When you're in a autumn, in a winter, you want to go straight home and lay your body down, right? Like that's how you create more space in your day. And by saying no more often, like practice saying no. And like that's also the beauty of inner autumn. There is this truth speaking, this truth telling nature that comes into you. So you want to drop into it as well and say no to things that you actually want to say no to. Say no to drink, say no to extra load of work that is possibly not yours. Yeah, practice saying no. How do you navigate the shame and the guilt? So from my own experience, I have had to like to tenderly take myself into those spaces, into the more rest, into the slowed movement of inner autumn and inner winter, and to also know that the shame and the guilt, it's only part of conditioning that says you can't move slow, you have to go. So that voice will definitely come up, right? But when you step yourself into this wisdom, like you're better able to allow yourself to gradually like step into the slow movement and the slow motion states, right? So the invitation is to allow it to happen gradually for you, right? Not necessarily overnight, then you're able to take a week off. No, like let's do it in gradual steps, right? In month 1, you're able to move slower. In month 2, maybe you're able to take a day off or whatever, right? So yeah, we want to go at it slowly and not necessarily allow ourselves to implement all of it in like overnight, because we're working with generations, centuries of conditioning that say you should not rest, you cannot move slow, right? So we also want to just be gentle and kind with ourselves in implementing this knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah. What's rising up for me is, so the inner critic is the saboteur archetype, right? And the saboteur archetype, which every single one of us has, is held by the inner child, right? It's the saboteur is actually our guardian of change, right? So what the inner critic is doing is actually, as a guardian, to protect you from making any changes that might be harmful for you, right? So, however, because we don't have a relationship with our inner critic and we don't realize that the inner critic comes as a guardian, not someone, not a voice attacking you, we then just disconnect and just like shut down and feel like, oh my God, yes, it's true, it could never work, but rather getting that this is an invitation from your guardian, your saboteur guardian, asking you to step even more in more clarity, in more confidence of whatever it is that's rising up within you, whatever changes you want to do in your life, right? So in also coming to realize that, like, even the word inner critic might not be appropriate, but like stepping into, this is my guardian of change. They are just making sure, because the purpose of the saboteur is to ensure that you do not die by literally saying, I'm quitting my job today, I'm doing it, you know? They're like, no, you can't, you're going to suffer. But we just say, oh my God, this voice, it's being negative. Or it could be inviting you, like you're saying, to go deeper into clarity and plans of how you're going to do it in ways that will be supportive of you as someone who's existing in a time and space matrix where actually people end up suffering if they didn't do the proper plans, right? So it's also stepping into that realization that, this is my guardian, and there's information coming in, not to attack me, but to help me get deeper clarity and to go deeper into understanding why this change, why am I making this change, right? And someone asked, and I would like you to also expand on it, just to wrap this thought that I had on how during this time the inner child is super vulnerable, like you were saying, and how to essentially support the inner child, which is also really the saboteur child, during this time, because I can't see now who, because comments disappear, but the warrior who is asking about this, they say it's very difficult for them to actually, do the mothering of the inner child during this period. So what are your thoughts on, like, stepping into this as I have to mother my inner child? How can we support this vulnerable child within us during this period? Yeah.
Sure. So from my own experience, the invitation has been just to listen to her, like to listen to her, to listen to just to offer a listening ear about this which might be breaking her heart, about this which might not be sitting well with her. And the creation of space that then allows her to show and to express and to be heard with regards to what it is that might be out of alignment. So the support there that one can do, we've already mentioned this, is it's that creation of space and the slowing down. Whereas when we keep up with the fast pace, it doesn't quite allow, like, the inner child almost to come home and to be heard. She cries so much, she wails so much when we are unable to allow ourselves to stop, to slow down, and just to listen, like that's what I found has been most supportive for my inner child. Just like when, and I know it might be difficult for those who are like in 9-to-5 employment. When I was in employment, actually, I used to lie down on the floor during lunch. Like, I'd work in the morning, right? Those 4 hours, and my body would be feeling cranky. Like, she tells you, I want to lie down. And so at lunch, I would just lay my scarf on the floor and put my body on the ground. Usually, like, just that, like, just like laying your body, it can be so supportive for your body and for your inner child. Like, just laying down, not even sitting, like just lay your body down and allow yourself to be held by Mother Earth and the energies of Mother Earth. That can be so deeply soothing and comforting for your inner child. And then she can begin to tell you, this is what's going on for me. And you want to then just like hold space for her as best as you can, for her to tell you what is off, what she's dissatisfied with, you know? Yeah. I hope that that answers it.
Yeah, that really does. And it's also just an affirmation for me because I really like to lie down during my winter. I just want to lie down on the floor. Oh my God.
Very
Right. So
important.
that's like a revelation. And on like just self-soothing, I do find that during my cycle, I I soothe in the unhealthy ways, which is I eat more, and just feel like, oh my God, I want to eat cornflakes right now at 11 p.m. And it's like, just wait for the morning. But now it's understanding, is the inner child who's like, I want this right now. Give to me, you know?
Crying.
Yeah.
And
So
she wails. If we don't listen, she will wail, and you will snap at people. So let's just slow down and lay your body down.
Oh, this has been so wonderful to me, and there is just a lot of affirmations from everyone who's joined us on Facebook. This has been really insightful for many people, and Connie is mind blown. Nombula is going to dive even more deeper. Saraya is here and is really affirming this, and Nunofang is like you are literally just initiating her into her business where she has greater understanding of her business. So this has been really, really shifting for women and just liberating women to not judge where they're at, the spaces that they enter during that cycle, right? And yeah, the great revelation is also just really what you said at the beginning, that this, rather than thinking of it as our menstrual cycle, it's seeing it as a whole big picture and part of a greater design. So that has been really helpful for us to really understand that it's a cycle that we go into and repeat and so on, right? So of course there is so much to this, and I know you work with the sacral body wisdom, but like, can you share now more about like the work you do and how people can connect with you if they want to go deeper in healing, understanding, working with that sacral body wisdom?
Yum, yum, yum. So this work, this wisdom around like just menstrual wisdom is, it's part of my bigger work on sacral body wisdom, which is to do with the womb. And so I've also taught a lot and done a body of work on sex, sexuality, and pleasure, which is matters of the womb, right? We're talking about the sacral chakra. We also want to heal that center and come back to ourselves, back to home, back to pleasure, right? And this, what we just did today, is actually like deep intimacy work with your body, with your cycle, with your womanness. And the work is vast, like Joy has said. Like, this is only a little snippet because there was so much that I wanted to share more, that I wanted to share, and I'm like, oh my God, I want to tell you about crossover days and all of that. So if you'd like if this deeply resonated with you and you'd like to explore my work more and possibly work together, you may find me on Facebook, Tumelo Moreri, right, on Facebook, and on Instagram. And I also have a Facebook group, private Facebook group for women, where we go deeper into this work. It's called Deep Intimacy and Pleasure for Women Leaders. You can just search for that on Facebook. It's Deep Intimacy and Pleasure for Women Leaders. And I also have coaching and healing programs and offers. So if you want to go deeper into this work in a one-on-one private setting, you can also check out my offers on my website, tumelomoreri.com. Where we can work together for a period of 6 months and just diving into this work and doing deep inner healing for your woman self, reconnecting with your body, reconnecting with intimacy, healing your pleasure blueprint, and just coming to an exquisite and orgasmic vibe inside your body and your entire life. Yeah. Oh, and I have a podcast, Joy.
Yes, you have a podcast.
And I have a podcast. So if you want to further educate yourself, right? Like look for my podcast. It's the Tumelo Moreri podcast show. It's on Google Podcast. It's also on Spotify. Yeah. It's on Podbean, right? So you can get the Podbean app. It's also on Spotify, those who have access to Spotify. And let's just journey more, right? And get to dive deeper into this wisdom about our women bodies and radically empower ourselves as we liberate ourselves as well and the many generations that will flow through us. So yeah, it's been so exciting and so delicious being with you here this afternoon. I'm so happy.
Yeah, this was so good. This is like my favorite topic because I feel that women deserve pleasure. Women deserve the deep intimacy that they desire. We are like at the point where it's okay to say, I actually deserve deep intimacy. I actually deserve a pleasure life. You know, I actually do not need to feel like the shame and the fears that I have, right? Like it's okay. And for us, Black women in particular, it's time for us to step into the natural cycles and lead our lives in alignment with the natural cycles, because for us, when we are out of alignment, literally our body collapses. It tells us, you know. So in understanding the path of healing and in understanding the path of ascension, because I do work around ascension, one of the misconceptions we have about being in the spirit path is the idea of elevating spiritually, moving beyond the mental and the emotional and the physical body. But truly, the true healing happens when you realize that we are actually descending light into the body, and we want our body to be open to more light, right? More of the God codes that are streaming right now, right? So this means let's learn our body, let's heal our body, let's do some work with me, let's go deeper and really create our lives from this wisdom. So this has been so good. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kokotas, for joining us and enjoying the conversation. And everyone who is joining us on Facebook, thank you for being amazing and just joining us. We are here doing this every Fridays and every Tuesdays, bringing in different conversations from different medicine women and men from all across Africa and the world, but primarily focusing our conversation for us people of the Black melanated coast, and just returning to the natural and ancient wisdom of our ancestors, so we may live, like Tumi likes to say, orgasmic, juicy, pleasure lives.
Yeah. Joy, may I please leave the women with one assignment, just an invitation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so an invitation from me is for you to like go practice cycle awareness, right? So this would entail on a daily basis, like just scribble down how you're feeling on that particular day, the thoughts that you had, your energy levels. So like this is, yeah, it's cycle tracking. You want to track your mood, your energy. Yeah, so the question says, how was I feeling today? How's my body, how was my energy level? What were my thoughts, right? And you do this every day, right? And you will begin to map your inner seasons, right? And with that, like as you become more cycle aware, you're in a space to better support yourself, right? And do it for more months. For me, yeah, for I've been tracking my cycle like for 5 years now. So like the more you do it, the more you recognize the patterns, right? And yeah, and there are apps out there that you can use to also track your cycle. I use an app called Flow, right? So now I track it on this app. But if you're starting with your menstrual cycle awareness, I would advise that you write out by hand, right? Like do your daily reflections by hand. And it doesn't have to be a lot of writing. Just write how you felt. Happy, joyful, horny, whatever, right? And you'll begin to see the patterns and it activates you. Yeah, the awareness activates you.
Yes, this is so good. I also have the Flow app, which is like so magical because it really helps you to understand what's happening with you. It can even say, "Are you feeling bloated today?" And you're like, "I am. Thank you for noticing." Because they observe your cycle and they can literally map what might be happening emotionally. And so yeah, check out all the resources that Fimi said. I also know that you've written about this in your blog, in your website. So also go
Yeah.
there to understand and just maybe process even more. That would be helpful. So tumelomoreri.com, or you can go to my website. It will lead you to her website when you click learn more, right? Yes. Thank you,
Oh,
everyone. Thank you
thank
to
you.
me. Love
Thank
and
you so much.
blessings, truth and, you know, and love. Truth and love. Bye, my love.
Thank you so much, Joy. Bye, everyone on Facebook.